Welcome to another episode of Amazing Individuals, where we talk to individuals with intellectual disabilities and the people that support them. On today's episode, we will be talking to Jeff Mohler. He is the CEO of Special Olympics Indiana. Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, especially considering the title of your podcast of Amazing Individuals. I appreciate being labeled as such. So thank you.
Oh, not a problem. Could you please tell our listeners where you're from?
Where are you from?
I born and raised here in Indiana, so I have not gone too far from where it all began for me. So Central Indiana, Hamilton County, which is one county north of Indianapolis. So I've been kind of in the suburbs of Indianapolis my entire life.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, my aunt and uncle used to live in Indianapolis, so and then I had
Yeah,
to drive through Indianapolis to get to where my grandparents were at in Danville, Illinois. So
I love it here. That's certainly one of the major reasons why I've never left. It's a great place to live.
oh, that's good.
mhm.
So how did you get involved in Special Olympics?
Well, that journey for me began back in 1997. I was a graduate student at Indiana University in Bloomington. So one of the few times in my life I did not live in central Indiana or Hamilton County. I was down at Bloomington, which is about an hour south of Indianapolis, graduate school studying nonprofit management. And part of my degree program was that I had to do a summer internship. And as I was in my room doing some studying, the TV was on. I saw a news broadcast of Special Olympics Indiana's Winter Games taking place in what, January of 1997. I thought, hey, that's a great opportunity. I wonder if they would take an intern because that was part of the summer in between the two full years that I was studying. I had to do an internship. And luckily for me, Dennis Schmidt, who was the executive director for Special Olympics Indiana at the time, uh, contacted me or called me back and said that they would entertain the idea. And so I interviewed and was accepted and did an internship the summer of 1997. I went back to Bloomington to finish my second year. And in the meantime, they liked the work that I did enough that they received a grant to add a brand new position and offered that to me in January of 1998. And I had a full-time position waiting for me when I graduated in May of 98. And so I've been part of Special Olympics ever since.
Oh, that's cool. That's a neat way to start too, to get in, right when you're in college too. So yeah, I
Yep,
know
absolutely.
Indiana very well. I used to see Bobby Knight teach, coach all the time. So because my family went to
Yep.
University of Illinois. So
Yeah, it is hard not to think of Indiana University without thinking of Bob Knight.
that is true. This is true. So, what-
What do you like most about working for Special Olympics?
Excuse me. Great question. I love that question. Uh, it's the empowerment of our athletes. I think is critical. I think that the general public can often look at Special Olympics and just say that we're a sports organization, in which we are. I mean, that's the heart of what we do. That was our beginning, but we're much more than that now. And through sports, through athletic training and competition, through physical fitness, and a number of other programs that we offer across the country and throughout the world, it's the empowerment of our athletes to think beyond even their wildest dreams, that they can achieve a lot more than they ever thought they could. And in fact, in the same way, I think that's kind of my journey too. I never would have thought back in 1997, 1998 that I'd be where I am today. And a large part of the reason why is that not only do I see our athletes accomplishing a lot more than they probably ever thought they could, it's kind of rubbed off on me that I was able to accomplish a lot more than I ever thought I could myself. Our athletes, in general, our athletes are very uplifting, positive, optimistic people. And it's hard not to get that same feeling when you work with our athletes. And by doing so, I feel much more confident than I ever thought about myself, about others, about the true testimony of the human spirit of what we can overcome if we just kind of work together, think of things in the positive light, and go forth and do. So I just love that empowerment aspect of what Special Olympics is all about.
That's good. Yeah, because without Special Olympics, I thought that I'd only do sports. Like I said, I didn't realize that I could have all the opportunities that I have, like especially serving on the committee with you that I do, and some other opportunities that possibly will come up soon. So, and you've done it for 40 years, and you probably, right? You
Yeah.
probably,
I know a lot.
yeah, I didn't expect it. So, being the CEO of Special Olympics Indiana is a very important role. Can you describe what some of your duties include?
Well, ultimately, it's to make sure that our organization, staff, board of directors, volunteers, the athletes themselves, that we're all going forth and trying to accomplish and achieve the vision and mission of Special Olympics. Through sports, we hope to impact our communities to create better and greater opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. It is ultimately my responsibility to make sure that we are moving in that direction. Day to day, it's to make sure that our staff here in Indianapolis and throughout the state are doing their jobs to empower our athletes to make their lives better. And externally, I'm making sure that we're bringing in the financial resources and volunteer resources that are necessary to keep the organization and our mission and vision moving forward. Each day for me is very different. It's not the same day twice. That's kind of what's exciting. It is also, in many ways, what can be intimidating is because you think you've accomplished one thing, and the next day will bring new challenges forth for you. It's a very important role. One of the first times that I was CEO, first time I went and met with other CEOs was July of 2018 in Chicago. So in your backyard, Lisa and Kurt. And, it was part of the 50th anniversary celebration of Special Olympics as an international movement. And one of the retiring CEOs was Bob Norby of Special Olympics Montana, was retiring. And he was asked kind of that same question. They invited a few of the retiring CEOs to talk about what it was like to all of us rookies. And Bob's statement, which I thought was very impactful to me, was that the most surprising thing for Bob was that he became the face of the organization. That, it's easy to think of Special Olympics in terms of the logo and what we do. But sometimes our athletes need to put all that Special Olympics is about to a face. And to Bob, it was surprising because he was that face. He would go to competitions and events and meetings in which athletes would oftentimes ask to have their picture taken with Bob. And that was very surprising to him. In fact, it's happened quite a bit for me. Is I realized the importance of my role because of all the athletes that want their picture taken with me, send me a Christmas or holiday card, just send me notes of encouragement throughout the year, is that all of our athletes really want Special Olympics Indiana to be successful, their local teams to be successful, they themselves to be successful. And really important to me is that they want me to be successful too. And all of that encouragement and support is kind of intimidating at times to realize that you have such an important role. But I don't go through life taking that lightly, because I know the importance of Special Olympics to our athletes across the state. And I have to live up to that every day because it challenges me to be better each and every day that I walk into the office or go to one of our events or attend a practice or a meeting. there's a lot riding on our organization for the athletes. Can't sound intimidating, but I realize that I don't do it myself. We have tens of thousands of people who are interacting, donors and volunteers, athlete leaders who are making sure that Special Olympics is successful. So it doesn't all ride on me, but I realize the importance of my role. So
Yeah, I noticed that, like with our CEO Dave Brain, that whenever he goes to events, everybody like wants to talk to him, or but he also doesn't overshadow like us as athlete leaders either.
no,
So I think you as well as I think Dave does a great job with that. Where they don't
thank you.
overshadow. They don't overshadow. Even on our calls, it's like you always have, all of us athletes kind of make sure to get our feedback. It's not like we're just sitting there and just listening. So
I will often tell people that Special Olympics is an organization that's owned, not literally, but it's figuratively owned by our athletes. And that, to me, I may be like the caretaker, so to speak, of the organization, but I'm the temporary caretaker. That I think eventually, wouldn't it be wonderful if someday on down the road, an athlete somewhere in the United States became the CEO of their state program? I think that's probably an indication that we've really truly arrived as an organization with a vision of empowerment, is that one of our athletes leads a program. We have a few athletes. We have an athlete here in Indiana that's the area director. For us here in Indiana, area directors are volunteer roles. So the athlete leader, Ken Melvin, is the area director for his part of the state. We have athlete leaders who are serving as the assistant local program coordinators, none that are the local program coordinator themselves just yet, but they're serving as the assistant coordinators. So we're continuing to try to move forward with that whole idea of empowerment. And the more that we do that, the more that I really feel proud about what we're trying to do here in Indiana, but also across the country. Dave Breen, you mentioned, he's a great guy. I love Dave Breen. Wonderful individual, truly a champion of Special Olympics, a champion of athlete leadership and empowering athletes themselves. And I've certainly spent a long number of minutes and hours chatting with Dave and just being impressed by him, learning from him. And it's always great to interact with Dave Breen.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. So
what are some successes that you have seen Special Olympics make, and what are some challenges?
Some of the successes I've seen since I've been part of Special Olympics really is kind of our Unified Champion Schools program. There was a time where schools were heavily involved here in Indiana, and then that kind of went away as school funding was challenged, and schools really put more emphasis on, teachers weren't interacting. They were doing a lot of paperwork, right? A lot of administration of IEPs and all that stuff. And so our interaction with, their interaction with Special Olympics kind of went away a little bit. So Unified Champion Schools is allowing us to really go into the school setting with ideas of disability awareness, empowerment, inclusion, diversity, anti-bullying. It's more than sports. So what we've been able to accomplish here in Indiana, I'm really proud of. One of the things that our previous president and CEO, Mike Furnish, was really a champion of was athlete leadership. And so we've really started to implement athlete leadership councils here, especially of late. We've got a great state athlete leadership council. We're now trying to create athlete leadership councils at the local level so that local representatives then are part of the state athlete leadership council. And so we're moving towards that. We have about half of our local programs have an ALC now, and we're looking that in 2022 that all of them will have an athlete leadership council. So those are a few things that we're trying to do. As far as challenges, I think certainly it's COVID. I mean, right now is how do you start to bring back people in person, whether it's competitions or meetings or practices? How do you do that safely so that everybody won't spread COVID? How do you do that in such a way that athletes feel safe coming back? How do you do it so that coaches and parents and volunteers feel safe coming back? I mean, that's an enormous challenge that we have faced throughout the United States and here in Indiana as well. So, we continue just to live day by day, and that is a challenge in and of itself, that we don't know when this will end. Things look better, and then you get Delta. Things look better, and then we now have what, Omicron. At what point will it end? Well, there's no set date. There's no deadline. There's no circle the calendar on this particular date and it'll all go away. So that continual gray area of not knowing when this ends is very stressful. Stressful on our staff. It's stressful on athletes. It's stressful on volunteers. And how do you keep an upbeat, positive message when what we thought would be a few weeks of quarantine is now going to be at least 2 years, if not longer? It's very, very challenging. So, but we as an organization, whether just here in Indiana, Illinois, or throughout the world, we will be stronger after all of this. We will be a better organization. We will be stronger. We will hopefully get all of our athletes back into action. And it's just going to be a matter of time. And throughout all of it, we all just need to stay positive.
Have you guys returned to any sports yet, or have you guys returned?
Yeah, we've been doing things slowly. We came back in person last April for our state basketball tournament. We had probably 10% of the normal teams that we do. So we've started very slowly. We set protocols that are masked indoors, whether you're vaccinated or not. Outdoors, it's up to you if you're vaccinated. If you haven't been vaccinated, we're requesting that you wear the mask even outdoors. There's a number of protocols that have been given to us from Special Olympics International that we've implemented here. And our coaches have done a tremendous job, a fantastic job in implementing those protocols to keep everybody safe. So we've done it slowly, very slowly.
Yeah, we've done it here slowly as well. We're one of them, and like you said, our coach always, like, when we practice like track or whatever, we always have to wear, he always has us wear, masks just to be on the safe side. So you never know. So going forward, what is one or two things that you would like to see Special Olympics accomplish?
Well, I think I would love for us to continue to develop a decision-making process, whether local, statewide, or nationally, maybe even globally, that the athletes are part of the process. I know that I've talked to a number of athletes at the United States Athlete Leadership Council level who have been disappointed that certain times decisions have been made and then they've been asked after the fact for feedback. Hey, here's our decision. What do you think? I'd love for us to say, have the athletes be part of that decision-making process in which they have a voice or an opinion that is known to all before the decision is officially made. That's what I'd love to see. And I think that's just the amount of, it's really just kind of thinking about the process of decision-making before it happens. I've been telling our staff here for a couple of weeks now, as we're starting to plan what does 2022 look like, that honestly, I'm tired of our staff making all the decisions. We can make great decisions, but our opinions are just that, ours. It doesn't incorporate local programs. It doesn't include our athlete leaders, and we need to make sure that everybody who's part of Special Olympics Indiana has a voice or an opinion that is known before decisions are being made. I'd love to see that. I mentioned earlier, wouldn't it be wonderful if someday a U.S. state program has a CEO who's a Special Olympics athlete leader? For us to achieve those kinds of levels would be fantastic. But wouldn't it be fascinating? Wouldn't it be great if, even if we don't, or maybe we're never able to achieve that, but wouldn't it be fascinating to have an athlete leader who's employed full-time with full benefits at a Special Olympics state program, state office, in which their role is not athlete leadership. It's about something else. Why are athletes, why can athletes who work at state programs, why do they only answer the phones? Why do they only make copies? Why are they only involved in athlete leadership? Can they run a sport? Can they run a competition? Could they do a fundraising event? Yeah, I think they can. So I think we need to start continuing to break down barriers that we have set ourselves for our athletes. And that is happening. It is happening. So I think in some ways, we're much closer than I can imagine right now talking to you, that we're very close for that to actually happen. I just know it.
That's good. Yeah, because like you said, that's where some of the stereotypes come in. And it's not just Special Olympics. I mean, Kurt and myself have always, that's our main thing that we try to advocate for is like, just because we have special needs or, we have some challenges doesn't mean we can't do anything, just with some, maybe with the right supports, we can. And like you said, maybe someday that somebody can run, a state program or something, and they don't just have to make copies. So I definitely agree. So, yeah.
Outside of Special Olympics, what are some of your favorite things you like to do?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do is actually running, distance running. So I've been back when I was in sixth grade, my dad asked me to go out on a run with him. My dad was a grocery store manager for a number of years, and Saturdays were always their biggest day, their busiest day. So, it wasn't very many Saturdays that I got to interact with my dad, but there was a Sunday that he asked me to go run with him. I'd never been running before, and he was picking up running to lose some weight. I went out for a run and just enjoyed it. And it was a great way to realize that, like, every Sunday thereafter for a number of years, going out on a Sunday run with my dad was my time to interact with him. That spilled over, and I did running in middle school, high school, college. I was a runner. I did marathons. And while I'm not running as many miles as I used to, I still run because it's kind of a way for me to start off the day, get the blood pumping, start thinking about what I want to accomplish for that day and for that week. It's a great way for me to relieve some stress. So my son's a runner now. He's a freshman in high school. Every so often we get to go out on a run together. So a lot of running. A lot of vacations with family. I like to travel. I've been to all 50 states now. My last state was in October, was Hawaii. My wife and I were able to go to Hawaii. I've been to all 50 states, so I like to travel. I want to do more traveling, especially when I retire. Hopefully go to Europe and see some foreign countries, experience different cultures. I'd love to do more traveling, certainly, if I could. So those are a few of the things that I like to do in my free time.
You've been to where did you went to Paris, right? So
I've been to Europe.
Europe,
Well, I've been
yeah.
to Paris, London. I've been to Haiti. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been.
Yeah. I was in Europe once in 1995, way back when. So I haven't been there since. So certainly need to get back.
Yeah, I look for it. So hopefully someday I'll be able to go. It's just we always go to every year. We just usually go to Disney because it's our favorite thing. So actually that leads me up to our next question. Disney will host the next USA Games June 5th to the 12th of next year. What is one or two things you are most looking forward to seeing?
I've been to Disney many times. My wife is a Disney nut. She just loves it so much. And in fact, next week, as long as COVID doesn't ruin plans, our family's going to Disney World for a little time here during the holiday break. But next year, though, Disney does great events. And so I would love to see Disney's touch on those events. So when I was in Special Olympics, I really was a sports event program person, so events, and to be able to take some ideas of how Disney does some things and kind of steal them a little bit. Let's say borrow those ideas and bring them back to Indiana. I'd love to be able to see how Disney runs the event, but probably more importantly, to see our athletes in action, because it's one thing to compete continually against the same people at Indiana events, Indiana state championships. It is certainly different. It will be eye-opening for a number of our athletes when they go down to Disney to compete and interact with athletes from across the country. Most of our team going down to Disney has not been part of USA Games or World Games before, so this will be a brand new experience for them. To see them interact with their fellow athletes from across the country I'm going to enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, we're volunteering, but we're also going to try to get
Awesome.
press passes too. So if we get press passes, then we'll enjoy that too, because then we like you said, just see Disney's twist on touch on everything. So, and it's
Yeah.
our way of, what did you say? It's our way of giving back. So
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you guys are volunteering down there. There's a number of people that I know that are going down there to volunteer for the week. So, must be that Disney magic is getting people to go down there.
yeah. And how many athletes do you have on your that are going for Indiana?
We have 100 people in all going, so that includes our athletes, partners, coaches, and support staff. So it's one of our largest teams ever. So
Oh,
we have probably a little bit more. We actually have two of our athlete leaders who are going down. Wes and Ben are going down there to help with healthy athletes. They're going to help run some of the stations down there and do some data entry for the games. And we have a couple of staff members who will be down there as well, helping with healthy athletes. We're going to take a couple of high school students to be part of the youth leadership experience that'll be down there. So I think now that might put us around the 107 people in all.
Oh, that's good. That's I don't know how many we have, but I think it's something around there, because I just know from our local team, that there's about 5. I think they're going from our local team. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, 3 of them are
Yeah.
going for flag football. So
I think it's really incredible to think that an organization that started off as serving people with intellectual disabilities has now transformed over the years to serving with. So we're not doing this. Athletes and volunteers are doing it separately. We're doing it together. I remember a couple of weeks ago, we actually did have our state bowling tournament before all this Omicron stuff happened, and we didn't quite have enough bowling lane assistants to volunteer. And when the word got out, a number of our athlete leaders came in and served as lane assistants. Our athletes want to give back to this great organization because you've gotten so much out of it. We've all gotten so much out of it. And to see and to hear that you and Kurt are going down to Disney to volunteer for the games. Like I said, we've got 2 of our athlete leaders who are going down to volunteer for the games in the Healthy Athletes venue. That's just tremendous. It's that empowerment that I was mentioning, that you are empowered to go down there and make a difference now for your fellow athletes. Wonderful.
Why is Special Olympics important to you?
Whoa, wow. It's sport. I always appreciate sports and what sports can do. And I appreciate people from various backgrounds coming together and accomplishing stuff together. Special Olympics is a wonderful organization in which both can happen, where we work with each other to accomplish more than we could do so individually. And we're doing it through sports. Sports has this kind of transformative power. We look at people differently. We associate with people differently through sports than we probably would otherwise. We become teammates. Teammates become friends. Friends become family. And through that transition, we're never alone. That's what I love about Special Olympics is, athletes, volunteers, coaches, staff members come from so many different backgrounds with so many different experiences, but we find a new family through Special Olympics. And it's not replacing the one we have if our families are still involved in our lives. It's an additional family that supplements and makes our whole experience even better. And when we learn from each other, then we turn around and we don't just hold it selfishly to ourselves. We go out and reach out and make sure that others become part of this inner circle called Special Olympics. That's why it's so important, is that those of us who look at each other as underdogs, or we feel like we've been underdogs our whole lives, are empowered to be greater than we ever thought we could. And that's not a journey just for athletes. It's a journey for all of us. I'm not a very big guy. I'm 5'7". I wasn't very good at anything but long distance running. I wasn't tall enough to play basketball or big enough to be on the football team. And I couldn't hit a curveball in baseball to save my life. But I found my niche in sports through distance running. And there's so many different ways to include everybody. In Special Olympics, you may not be good at anything. Who cares? Come out, compete, participate, find those friends, find your new family, or find something that was missing in your life the whole time. There's something for everybody. That's why Special Olympics is so important.
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, we both, like, I just do what I can't run, but I try to do as best as I can with basketball, and we do the walking races, and but at least it gives us something to do. So, and I think it's also, like you said, it's also a family, and even with athlete leadership, I feel like there's more of an extended family there too. So. If you could give any advice to people on how to interact with individuals with intellectual disabilities, what would it be?
Well, I think if you go into any relationship, any interaction with our athletes and feel sorry for them, you're going to miss half of what can be part of that interaction or relationship. You're going to look at it as, what can I give to this person? No. Every interaction is two-way. Every relationship is two-way, in which you may give advice or help or assistance or tidbits of knowledge, but that person is going to give it right back to you in different ways. And I look at, I've got a picture of here on my desk. Here's Chris Bowling. Chris passed away right before COVID in February of 2020. Chris was in a wheelchair, used a wheelchair, and Chris, every time I interacted with Chris was always saying, Jeff, we don't do enough for athletes in wheelchairs. And Chris was absolutely right, and we still don't, but we're trying to get better. If I always looked at my relationship with Chris as, oh, look at all the great things I'm doing for Chris, then I'm missing the interaction in which Chris tells me all the things that we could be doing or should be doing and how to get the organization better. Chris knows more about Special Olympics than I ever will. He did. And while he passed away, everything that we're doing now to make Special Olympics more inclusive for athletes who are lower ability, who are in wheelchairs, who have ambulatory issues. If I saw that interaction with Chris only as one way, there's so much that I would have missed along the way. Don't feel sorry for our athletes. Go into these interactions and say, what can I learn from this person? What can I learn from this experience with them? Even if it's for a few brief moments. It might be longer than that, and I hope it is, but what can you learn from this person, from this time together? Everybody has a story. And the more that we get to know everybody's story, the more that we feel a part of their lives and they're a part of our lives. I think our world is so divided, especially our country is so divided right now. And I think a lot of it is we don't take the time to learn everybody's story. Uh, Slow the pace down. There's a number of us in the world that are so fast paced. We're so ingrained in checking off that to do list and getting that thing off my list because I accomplished it. We're so fast paced that we don't slow our pace down to listen to people around us, not just athletes, but I'm talking about everybody around us. And those are some of the important lessons that I've learned from our athletes. Um, Slow the pace down, enjoy sitting on the bench, chatting with somebody as the world goes by. Enjoy the moments, enjoy the little moments. Those are the best moments.
Well, and like you said, I mean, if you sometimes I know like Northwestern, when the students help us coach, and sometimes when they don't realize that if when they until they take the time to get to know us that wait a minute, we have some of the same interests, or things outside of special needs that or that they do. So, like you said, it's helpful when you have a dialogue because maybe you can find out something that you guys have in common or that and then the stereotypes kind of go away with that too, so a little bit. So, so, um, what-
What is one thing you'd like to tell people about yourself that they might not know about you?
I don't know. I'm a sucker for romance comedies. I love I love Hallmark movies. I love rom-coms. You give me a nice, good story that's a little cheesy. Uh, I can dig those rom-com movies every night of the week. Uh, I probably watch too many of those. I probably should read more books. Maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution. But yeah, I've got even on my phone, I've got the Hallmark app on my phone, so I know which movies I've seen and which ones I haven't seen yet. So I'm a sucker for rom-coms.
yeah, I was gonna say each person is different. It has their own thing. So, like he likes watching. What do you like watching? Oh, anything about police because he
About what?
about police.
Oh,
Because he's how long you volunteered for?
32 years now.
Yeah, 32 years for our local police department. So that's
well, that's awesome.
yeah. So
That's fantastic.
yeah. So that's his vice or whatever. So so yeah. So well, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us today. We really did enjoy talking to you. That wraps up another episode of Amazing Individuals. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Jeff.
Before we end today, Lisa and I would like to remind everyone to make sure you get their COVID vaccines as well as their boosters. If you have not already done so, you are not just doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for the whole world.
And we hope everyone will stay healthy and safe. And remember that people with intellectual disabilities can accomplish whatever they want with the right supports. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.